Thanks for joining us. I'm Matt Dowling with Going Live with FCTV. I'm coming to you today from Seton Hill University at the In Your Right Mind conference. Now, today we're going to be talking to authors, publishers, and others from within the industry who make words on pages come to life. In fact, this episode's going to last over the next couple weeks, a mini-series if you will. So stay tuned and learn about some of the best and brightest new faces and some that have been around in the industry of writing.
Do you have a buy local card?
Yes, I have one. I do.
Yeah, I have one. I use mine every day.
Where's your buy local card?
Use your buy local card to save money at restaurants, grocery stores, retail shops, tourist attractions, and service providers. Cards can be purchased online at www.buylocalfayette.org or by calling 724-437-7913.
Savor the flavor of Fayette. Buy local.
A few years ago, I was at a dead end, underemployed, with no idea of where my life was headed. Then I enrolled at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology's School of Healthcare Careers and discovered a great career and great life was only months away. Now, I've started the career of my dreams, and the future couldn't be brighter.
The School of Healthcare Careers at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology offers career-focused, hands-on training for these in-demand fields. Call 724-437-4600 or visit piht.edu for information.
Thank you for joining us here at Seton Hill University, our authors interviews that we've been doing all day. And joining me now is Nicole Peeler. Nicole, you're also full-time faculty here on the Hill, is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
And what type of writing do you do? Is there a particular genre that you're within, or?
Yeah, I write urban fantasy, which is the same genre as the Sookie Stackhouse books that people know as True Blood. So it's kind of a new genre.
Now, I understand you just recently wrapped up a series of books that you had released?
Yes, I have a 6-book series. It's called the Jane True series. And the 6th book just came out at the end of May. So it's been an exciting ride.
Absolutely. Now, did you release those both as ebooks and in print editions, or?
They are, they're print, but also as ebooks and also as audiobooks.
Okay.
So there's a number of ways you can access them. And they're with Orbit Books, which is a sci-fi fantasy imprint, so they'll be in the sci-fi fantasy section of your bookstore. So
without giving away maybe the whole plot line, why don't you just give us a little bit of an overview of what we can find in that series?
No problem. My main character's name is Jane True, and she is part Selkie, and Selkies are a shape-shifting seal mythology from out of the Faroe Islands and Iceland and all those you know, very lovely vacationing spots. And Jane's mother appeared mysteriously in the middle of a rainstorm and disappeared just as mysteriously 5 years later. So it really takes advantage of that Selkie mythology that have sort of appearing and disappearing beautiful women. And she doesn't know she's part magical. She knows she has a secret, though. She can swim in waters that are not conducive to swimming off Maine. And in the Old Sow, which is actually a real whirlpool right outside of Eastport, Maine, the 5th biggest whirlpool in the world, and she considers it sort of her playground. So she knows there's something different about her, but she's been taught to keep this difference a secret. That secret has had very tragic consequences in her life, and she's sort of living through that still and kind of a victim of that still. And we see her grow in the series from someone who first learns of her magical heritage to someone who actually becomes a champion. So it's kind of an unlikely heroine's journey at the end of the series.
So I've been asking some of the authors what their favorite character is from their books. So in your series, I'm not going to give you that one. I'm going to give you a different question.
Good.
Who is your favorite supporting character within the series?
I've got tons. I have a really crazy cast of characters, and probably one of my favorites is Griselda Montague, who's a former porn star who went under the name Dusty Nethers. And Grizzy is omnisexual, is how I describe it, so nothing's safe around her, and she's always wearing these really over-the-top outfits. So, you know, kind of choosing what she'd wear for a particular scene was always a lot of fun. And she's a real character, but she's also a really warm, supportive person. So she's definitely one of my favorites.
Where do you think, or where do you attribute your influences
Well, I'm actually an academic. I'm a literary academic by trade, so I spent the last many years reading modernism. I did a PhD on Philip Roth and Martin Amis. So actually, those have had really strong influences on me. But as far as writing is concerned, it's what I grew up reading, and I read a lot of fantasy and a lot of science fiction growing up. And a lot of what's today known as urban fantasy, but then was just these kind of weird fantasy books that people didn't know what to do with. So the Mercedes Lackey, Diane Tregarde trilogy. It's very early urban fantasy, and it didn't actually do very well, I don't think, because people didn't know what to do with it. And then Charles Dillent was another big influence. Yeah. So these series that really pulled in mythology and set it in our world, which I think was so fascinating to me, because I wanted our world to be magic so bad.
And it made it accessible to people, be able to have these familiar ideas that were within our world, but then to have that speculative element.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's next? What are you working on?
Oh, yes, what's next?
Yes, every Jane True fan in America is like, let me hear it.
All 24 of them. Yeah. Actually, I'm working on a series set in Pittsburgh, and it was funny because, I mean, this was the first book that I wrote is the first book that I ever wrote. I have a really weird story. Most people, have written tons and are, used to sort of figuring out what to write next, and I never have had to figure out what to write next because I've only written the one thing. So I started a few proposals that just didn't go anywhere because I was latching on to ideas. And for this idea, which it's really got legs and it's really taking off, I started with a character again. So with Jane, I started with, I knew I wanted to write this sort of strong but vulnerable, very non-heroic heroine who would take all these female strengths that aren't necessarily acknowledged by society as strengths, and those would become the things that would make her a champion. And so this idea, I was in the shower, which is where most writers' ideas come from.
That in the car.
Yeah. Yep.
You can't write them down.
Driving and showering. If they made a shower car, that would be incredible. But so I was in the shower, and I was like, I just moved to Pittsburgh proper, and I was like, I want to set a book in Pittsburgh. And I was like, ha ha ha, what kind of supernatural immortal creature would live in Pittsburgh? And then it was like this moment where like the clouds parted, and I was like, I need to answer that question. And that's where this character came from, and she's fabulous. So I'm pretty excited about her.
Can you give us a little preview at all?
I knew
or
you were
you?
ask for him.
I don't know.
My agent's upstairs, and
Yeah.
she will sense that I'm spilling something, and she will come down here.
She'll be here right away.
She'll just appear.
She'll apparate
like
in front
magic.
of you, and
She'll apparate and she'll smack me. So no.
No.
There can't be anything.
So we have to leave it to our own devices until it comes out
Yep.
as to what superhuman powers
exactly.
would exist in
Since she's local,
Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh.
We'll have her on the show.
We can have her on the show,
She's ready
yeah.
to
Yeah, that's true. I am local.
Absolutely.
Woo. I just recently, I'm such a convert. I'm like, Pittsburgh's the best city ever.
Yes.
Like, it gets under your skin.
Did you
I wish I lived
move
in
in here
Pittsburgh.
from someplace else?
Well, oh yeah, I've been all over the world actually, and then I was in Louisiana last, and then I lived in Greensburg itself
Okay.
for a few years, and then I just bought a place in Highland Park. So
You've been all over.
I know.
So she has a lot to compare it to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a great city. So I'm excited.
So when do you anticipate that this will come out?
The new one?
The new one.
Oh, I mean, we have to sell it. We have to do everything. It's,
So
it's
we're-
in total
we're
like
still,
birthday.
So I'm going to wait
dating.
a long time to figure
That's
out.
what this is. This isn't 5 days of cafeteria food. This is my idea, baby. So I'm sorry. That probably shouldn't be on television.
No, that's what makes all of this good.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
That makes good TV.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Great.
It's the spice of life.
So if someone wants to keep up with you and your current projects,
dear God.
where could they find you?
I'm on Facebook like 24/7. It's
Okay.
kind of eerie and creepy. You can also find me at NicolePeeler.com.
Okay.
So NicolePeeler.com. Just Google me.
Google you?
I'm all over.
I think that's the easiest way to find people anymore.
Absolutely.
Nobody even pays attention to the URLs. They just
Yeah,
put the
just
name
Google
right
me.
in the search engine.
You can't avoid me.
Nobody wants to.
Oh,
We love you.
Yay.
Well, I thank you for being with us, and as soon as you can release any information about this mythological being from Pittsburgh.
Perfect.
I want to know more.
Perfect. Awesome.
So stick around. We'll be back with more authors from Seton Hill University in just a short while.
Do you have a buy local card?
Yes, I have one.
I do. Yeah, I have one. I use mine every day.
Where's your buy local card?
Use your Buy Local card to save money at restaurants, grocery stores, retail shops, tourist attractions, and service providers. Cards can be purchased online at www.buylocalfayette.org or by calling 724-437-7913.
Savor the flavor of Fayette. Buy local.
A few years ago, I was at a dead end, underemployed, with no idea of where my life was headed. Then I enrolled at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology's School of Healthcare Careers and discovered a great career and great life was only months away. Now, I've started the career of my dreams, and the future couldn't be brighter.
The School of Healthcare Careers at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology offers career-focused, hands-on training for these in-demand fields. Call 724-437-4600 or visit piht.edu for information.
Welcome back to Seton Hill University. Joining us right now, we have Sally Bosco, who is an author, and you write young adult dark
fiction.
Fiction,
Right.
okay.
Some paranormal romance.
Very good. And also with us, Heidi?
We have Lee Allen Howard, who is a local Pittsburgh writer. Both are alum of the program, and Lee also is an editor. So we have always a great mix here at Seton Hill, because everyone, once they get through the program, then they're able to do everything.
And Lee, you write what type of books?
Primarily horror and supernatural crime and dark fantasy.
Okay, so let's talk, Sally, about your most recent work. What do you have that's come out recently?
Well, my most recent book is The Werecat Chronicles. It's paranormal romance about a girl who grows up and it's been kept from her that she's a werecat. Her parents hoped it would kind of skip a generation.
Okay.
So she starts having these experiences and she has to figure out what's going on. So it's kind of a coming-of-age werecat.
About what age does that?
17.
17,
Yeah.
The age of reason for werecats.
Apparently.
And
Lee, your most recent work?
The one that came out last month is called Death Perception. And it's a supernatural crime, supernatural thriller. And it's about a young man who works at the local funeral home and he cremates people. And he has this special gift that he discovered, that he can discern the cause of death of those that he cremates by toasting marshmallows over their ashes. And when what he discerns differs from what's on the death certificate, then he finds out that he's in the midst of murderers and he has to, avenge the dead and save the living.
Do you see this as a series?
I've been told that it's been set up for a follow-up, and I agree. I think it could, but I haven't planned one yet.
I don't know, that sounds like almost like a perfect setup for a series.
Absolutely.
I can see it on TV.
It could stand alone well, though.
Yeah, it could, but you know that everybody...
They want to know what else. If he, he has that knack, they're going to want to see that character again and
There'll
again.
be a murder mystery in every one. Oh, yeah.
So where do you both kind of pull inspiration from? Were you readers all your lives?
I have been a reader all my life, yeah. But I think when you start writing, those ideas just come to you. It's getting the time to write the books that's the problem. So I have tons of ideas.
Do you have the luxury of being a full-time writer? Or?
I am a full-time writer now. Yes, I am.
And Lee, how about you?
My inspiration, probably from horror stories, and Tom Tryon, his novel The Other, really electrified me when I was young, I don't know, 12, 13, 14, and he's probably responsible for making me want to write. So, and I'm also employed as a writer in the software industry.
Now, you both have more than one book out, or is this not a first book for either of you?
No, it wasn't actually, no.
What are some of your previous
works?
I
have one called Alt Death, about an internet vampire. It's kind of a horror mystery about a group of kids in the northern neck of Virginia that one of their friends supposedly commits suicide, but they know it's something else, so they have to kind of prove that it's something dark forces at work.
So it's a mystery element.
There's a mystery element, and also Shadowcat, which was an adult paranormal, and that was published under the name Zoe Lepage because I wanted to keep my adult and young adult separate. So a different kind of werecat.
I know you have it.
Yeah.
Do you like cats? Do you have a cat?
I have cats.
Yeah.
Lee, your other works?
My previous novel is called The Sixth Seed. It's kind of dark science fiction. I call it family drama with aliens. And it's about a family who they think they're done having children because they already have 5, and then a 6th one comes along because a doctor in league with an alien race has implanted a hybrid human alien seed within the father. And so she gets pregnant again and brings forth the first alien human hybrid that has come to full term in utero.
And you can see the problems that would arise with that.
Yeah. Well, that's actually why I was so silent for a moment, because I was thinking of those.
Oh, because he has a little one, he has a little one on the
yeah.
way.
I was really trying to digest all that at the same time. You know, both of you are established alum of the program, have a few books under your belt. I want to talk a little bit maybe about your individual early days of writing. I know there can be kind of a struggle before you get your work out there, and there's some frustration maybe that goes along with that. Why don't you share
did you both write before you came to
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I've written for years, and I know the first improvements I made were through joining a writers group. So that really helped, and I wrote, and I've written so many novels and tried to get them published, but they were kind of like practice novels. But going to Seton Hill, I think, just really brought my level of writing up another degree.
Lee, how about your journey as a writer?
Well, I started writing when I was in 2nd grade, and I held off that long because I didn't know how to print yet. So as soon as I learned how to write, actually make words, I wrote a story, and I wrote all through grade school and high school and in college. And I tried getting things published and read a lot of books about the writing craft. And I still didn't have a lot of success getting things out there on the market, so I decided, I saw the program here, and I live in Pittsburgh, so it's very close by, and took advantage, and just like Sally said, really kind of jump-started, took me up to another level.
And then the community. I always talk about the fact that there is community. We all graduated in different years, yet I feel like I am extremely close to them, just because Seton Hill has that strong sense of community. It almost is like this is an infomercial for Seton Hill. Yeah. But this is just how passionate everyone who has come to the program feels about it.
I thought maybe at lunch Carrie Coleman paid people off to say good things about the university.
We don't get the money until after the interview.
After it airs, actually.
It's all about the networking with writing, and it's really important to have that strong network, and because writing is such a solitary thing, and you need encouragement to keep doing it, actually.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people can appreciate reading, but it takes maybe a special knowledge and almost an insider's point of view to appreciate writing.
I think, although I wonder if for most people the natural progression is from reader to writer. Now, with you, Lee, was that how it was even whenever you were real little, or was it that the stories were just there and, like you said, you needed to get them out?
Well, I was a precocious reader too, and was always reading something, and I think one of my favorite books when I was very little was How to Feed and Care for Your Monster by, I can't remember if the author is, but he wrote the Clifford books. And but I did write my little stories on tablet paper or 3-ring notebooks, and then I would bind them with construction paper.
That is awesome. What have you read recently, Sally?
What have I read recently?
Yeah.
Caitlin Kiernan, The Red Tree. I really love that book, and it kind of like as House of Leaves does kind of weird architecture.
I have it on my
cellars
shelf,
growing, to infinite degrees, and it's really cool. Unreliable narrator, but it really works.
That's interesting. Now I'm going to check it out.
That's a great
book.
book. Yeah.
Lee, are you reading anything currently?
I'm always reading something currently. I usually have 3, 4, 5 going, but I'm studying, rereading and studying Dan Simmons' Summer of Night. Taking it scene by scene and analyzing it. That's something that I like to do with a novel, at least once a year.
Yeah, Dan Simmons is a smart choice. We were just talking about this in the module that I taught yesterday, how Dan Simmons can write in every genre and do it well, and that is extremely difficult.
Well, it looks like we are out of time here. They're giving me the wrap it up ferociously over there. Yeah. They can Google search you to find any of your works, but
Yes.
do you have Twitter, Facebook,
Yeah.
all the social media?
Yes, sallybosco.com. It's all listed on there.
And Lee?
LeeAllenHoward.com, or Twitter is @LeeAllenHoward.
Well, thanks for spending the past 10 minutes or so with us. We really have enjoyed you being with us. We'll be back with more here from Seton Hill University in just a moment.
Do you have a buy local card?
Yes, I have one.
I do. Yeah, I have one. I use mine every day.
Where's your buy local card?
Use your Buy Local card to save money at restaurants, grocery stores, retail shops, tourist attractions, and service providers. Cards can be purchased online at www.buylocalfayette.org or by calling 724-437-7913.
Savor the flavor of Fayette. Buy local.
A few years ago, I was at a dead end, underemployed, with no idea of where my life was headed. Then I enrolled at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology's School of Healthcare Careers and discovered a great career and great life was only months away. Now, I've started the career of my dreams, and the future couldn't be brighter.
The School of Healthcare Careers at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology offers career-focused, hands-on training for these in-demand fields. Call 724-437-4600 or visit piht.edu for information.
Thank you for joining us at Seton Hill University. We are interviewing authors here today, and Heidi, joining us right now is Shelley Bates. And Shelley, I understand, has a number of
personalities.
Yeah.
Yes, she has lots and lots of names that she writes under, and we have Shannon Hollis. We have Adina Senft. We have Shelley Adina, and then she has written actually under her own name, Shelley Bates.
Imagine.
I know, but actually she has an interesting stories as to why she has some of those names. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, when I graduated from the program in 2002, that was a January graduation. I was laid off from Hewlett-Packard in August of that year, and the same week I got the call from Harlequin, and they bought my thesis. So Harlequin would rather not use your real name, so I agreed to go with Shannon Hollis, my very first pseudonym. The street I grew up on was Hollis Road, and I always liked Shannon.
That's what they always say, to use the street that you grew up on.
Yeah, so I did. So I did 7 romances with Harlequin, and then I changed markets. And so Shannon wrote very sexy books with red covers, which would not fly in the new market, which was inspirationals. So I had to take a different name. I took my married name back, which was Shelley Bates. I did 4 novels as Shelley Bates, and then I moved into young adult and became Shelley Adina, so that the teenagers would not get my women's fiction novels mixed up and pick a Shelley Bates novel off the shelf, thinking that it was young adult fiction. So several novels went by under that name, and then I moved into the Amish romance market, and my maiden name is Senft, which is German, and of course the Amish culture is German, and marketing said, oh, Bonanza, let's go with that one. And I thought, oh brother, here I went and married a guy with a nice simple name, trying to get rid of Senft.
I will remember that now. It has the Z sound to it.
S-E-N-F-T means mustard.
Does it really?
I'm Little Miss Mustard, yes.
Oh, how cute.
And her next nom de plume will be Shelley Mustard.
Shelley Mustard?
I hope not.
That's her children's series.
Oh, that will be
yet to come out.
Good
Shelley
point.
Mustard.
Yes.
There you go.
Although I'm writing an herbal series as Adina Senft, so that'll be the subtext.
Yeah.
My name is actually an herb.
That's awesome, though. I like that.
So let's talk about your most recent work. Is there what's come out most recently?
Most recently, I did a steampunk young adult novel as Shelley Adina in February, and then in March, my 3rd Amish quilt novel came out called Attempted Soul under the Adina Senft name. So you can imagine it's been a really busy spring with promotion on both sides under 2 names with 2 sets of blogs and
2 different markets, right?
It's
wow.
exhausting. Yeah, blog tours in 2 different markets. There were some pretty long days after those books both came out. I don't think I'm going to do that again.
Most readers don't realize how much goes into the marketing aspect after you actually write, and so do not a lot of students whenever they first come in.
Yeah, you have to really be organized with your time and very disciplined because you need to preserve your writing hours.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, you know, there's 25 blogs that need blog entries for the week of your launch.
Exactly. And she's also a mentor in the program, and she also is an alum with the program as well.
Right. So I have my students' work that has to be looked after, and the coaching and mentoring that happens there. So yeah, it gets busy.
It does. It never ends, but you don't want it to.
No, I'm doing what I love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about one of those typical days when you're promoting a new book or a book's getting ready for a launch. Is that a lot of writing? You mentioned blog entries that you have to get out. Where else were you promoting your works?
There are lots of, well, the book bloggers like their interviews, so I can do either a blog entry for them, a guest post, or an interview. And after like 12 or 13 of them, you kind of feel like you're answering the same questions over and over again, but yet if it's a blog tour, there's readers that are going from stop to stop, so you can't do the same content. So that takes a lot of thought and consideration. And then sometimes there's interviews with television and press once in a while, if I get lucky. And the publicist has set it up. This most recent release, the Lifeway book chain was doing a big push in June for authors. And so each Lifeway store would have authors come in for book signings all in the space of 1 week. So they phoned me up and they said, can you fly to Los Angeles to appear in the nearest Lifeway store to me, happened to be in Los Angeles. So I said, sure. And then I said, oh, by the way, I'm also coming to Pennsylvania to do a research trip. And I'll be close to York, where there's a Lifeway store. Maybe I can drop in. And they said, oh, never mind Los Angeles. Come to York. So I did the appearance in York. And they were really kind. They had gazillions of books there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
You know what? I have to ask this question. After all of the books that you've written, do you have one favorite character?
Oh, boy. That's like asking a mother who her favorite child is.
I know.
I think it depends on the series that we're talking about. In the Amish series, there was a character called Emma Stoltzfus, who was a closet writer. And I grew up in a plain church, and I remember being that girl who was writing at night where nobody could see, knowing that no one would ever hear me. Well, in her case, her novel escaped, and she started getting attention. So I really liked Emma because she was a very blunt, sort of spinster type who didn't ever think she was going to get married, and you know how important marriage and family is in the Amish culture. So she's my favorite because I think I really identified with her. And then on the young adult side, I'm doing a steampunk series featuring Lady Claire Trevelyan, who is a 17-year-old inventor.
It's a wonderful series, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And it's really fun because she gets to do all kinds of unconventional things in the steampunk world that a proper Victorian miss would never have been allowed to do.
Yeah, and steampunk has just completely made this huge
It's really taken off.
Yeah, impact on the market now.
But you know, I've been a fan since the 60s. James West and the Wild Wild West, totally steampunk.
Absolutely.
We used to play it as kids.
So if someone is looking to catch up with your work, do they have to look under each of your surnames to be able to find you, or do you have one website that says that you are all of the above?
My Shelley Bates website has a little tab that says My Fiction, because I'm a copy editor by trade, so that's kind of my business site. But on there is a tab that says Shelley's Fiction, and it has covers of all my publications, and they can just click to go whichever flavor they prefer that day.
So it's all in one place,
yes.
Easily accessible.
ShelleyBates.com, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So you can learn more, maybe realize that she is in a few different places, and places people might not have expected you to have been. I want to thank you for joining us here today and for sharing a little bit. We'll be back after these brief messages.
you have a buy local card?
Yes, I have one.
I do. Yeah, I have one. I use mine every day.
Where's your buy local card?
Use your buy local card to save money at restaurants, grocery stores, retail shops, tourist attractions, and service providers. Cards can be purchased online at www.buylocalfayette.org or by calling 724-437-7913.
Savor the flavor of Fayette. Buy local.
A few years ago, I was at a dead end, underemployed, with no idea of where my life was headed. Then I enrolled at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology's School of Healthcare Careers and discovered a great career and great life was only months away. Now, I've started the career of my dreams, and the future couldn't be brighter.
The School of Healthcare Careers at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology offers career-focused, hands-on training for these in-demand fields. Call 724-437-4600 or visit piht.edu for information.
Well, we have more author interviews coming for you. Really been a packed day. I feel like we have talked to just a ton of people, but a great amount of talent.
We have more.
We have more.
We have even more coming.
Joining us right now is author Jessica Freely and also her editor-in-chief and publisher, Vanessa Junta. And I want to welcome you both and thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Why don't we talk a little bit about your current projects that you have?
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I have a self-published series that I'm currently doing, which is a spin-off actually of a book that I did with Vanessa in the fall called His Own Devices. It's a gay science fiction romance. And this is a spin-off series of short stories that I'm self-publishing. I made the first one free on Amazon. It's called Unlawful. And it's reached number 5 on Amazon's free gay romance list.
Yay.
And Jessica, what are you working on right now? Or I'm sorry, Vanessa. I look down and then I get completely thrown off. I'm sorry.
Your names are opposite on the sheet.
Yes.
I am an editor for Lucid, which is where Jessica and I work together, and I have a project that I've just begun. It is an ebook magazine. It's for short fiction. It's called Fiction Veil, and the first episode comes out in November. We are open for submissions only until June 30th, and then we'll be getting everything together. So that's my big project. I'm editor-in-chief of Fiction Veil. It's going to be put out in ebook format, which I think is a really cool way to sort of use the technology that has impacted publishing so strongly. Most of the short fiction markets have died because print magazines have gone out of business, and now there are a lot of anthologies, but there are very few ongoing short story markets for writers to submit to. So that's a void that we'd like to fill.
So what are some other pieces that you have done in the past? Before we started, you said you've worked together on 9 different pieces?
Yes, we've done 9 books together. They run the gamut of science fiction, paranormal, and contemporary. They're all gay romance. Let's see. You really liked Dharma Cafe,
that was my
right?
favorite.
That was the one, yeah.
That's
the story about a waiter and a busboy at a magical restaurant where there are no menus, but the waiter's a psychic, and he reads what the customer needs, and the cook seasons the food with ingredients like love and hope and courage, depending on what they need to have, and that's something that we really enjoyed working on. That's called Dharma Cafe. It's that book, yeah.
Coming out next, what are your next pieces?
I have a book coming out with Harmony Ink Press that's a young adult gay romance, and that's entitled All the Colors of Love.
So where do you pull some of your inspiration from, or what are some influences that you have that may bleed through to your writing?
Well, I love manga, comic books, so that's been an influence in some of my books, especially Dharma Cafe actually started as a manga script originally. You know, other authors, you know, I'm inspired by the work of other authors all the time. There's an author by the name of Jin Hale who you know, I just follow her around and I get everything that she writes. And in fact, in some ways, she wrote a story. It was a science fiction gay romance about a man stranded on a planet, and he had some robots, and that was sort of the seed for his own devices, which is the book that Vanessa and I did in the fall. And her name was Jin Hale. They mentioned that, didn't they?
And you have the magazine that's coming up. Anything else that you have coming down the pipeline?
I actually I'm also a writer, so I'm working on the last edits for a middle grade book that I am hoping to get out there, and it's about a set of twins who discover that they are the guardians of Pandora's box, and it is contemporary, so it's interesting and fun. It's cool.
What are some influences that you pull from?
I read a lot of, interestingly, I don't actually write horror, but through my 20s and my teens, I read a lot of horror. Stephen King, Dean Koontz, all of those people. So I read a lot of those. I really enjoy mystery too. I really like Jan Burke's Irene series, which is just phenomenal. And so I try to read kind of across the gamut, you know. I don't read, there are things that I like a lot, things like urban fantasy, contemporary fantasy, but I have a lot of influences, I think. So.
Well, if people are looking to get in touch with you or to find out what you're working on, what are the best methods? Website, Twitter?
Yeah, they can come to my website. It's jessicafreely.com. It's Freely. And I'm also Jessica Freely on Twitter and on Facebook. So.
And probably the best way to get in touch with me is through the Fiction Vale website. It is Fiction Vale, it's VALE.com, and we have a contact page there. And we have a Fiction Vale Twitter account, and then I'm also on Twitter as Troy Lee, Troile. So those are probably the best ways to get in touch with me.
Well, I want to thank you both for being with us here today and taking a few minutes out to tell us what you're working on and what's coming up in the future. Please stay with us. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Do you have a buy local card?
Yes, I have one. I do.
Yeah, I have one. I use mine every day.
Where's your buy local card?
Use your Buy Local card to save money at restaurants, grocery stores, retail shops, tourist attractions, and service providers. Cards can be purchased online at www.buylocalfayette.org or by calling 724-437-7913.
Savor the flavor of Fayette. Buy local.
A few years ago, I was at a dead end, underemployed, with no idea of where my life was headed. Then I enrolled at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology's School of Healthcare Careers and discovered a great career and great life was only months away. Now, I've started the career of my dreams, and the future couldn't be brighter.
The School of Healthcare Careers at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology offers career-focused, hands-on training for these in-demand fields. Call 724-437-4600 or visit piht.edu for information.
Well, thank you for joining us. We've had a whole series of authors in today, but I'm really excited about our next guest, Heidi.
Absolutely.
Joining us is, I always want to say on the couch, because in the studio we have a couch, but we have chairs here today. Joining us is Victoria Thompson, and Victoria, you write mystery.
That's correct. The Gaslight Mystery Series, set in turn-of-the-century New York City. The heroine is a midwife. The hero is a police detective.
Okay. Now, you've been recognized for your mystery work. You are an Edgar-nominated author. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Edgar Award? I know it's very large, but maybe those outside the literary community aren't as familiar.
Right. It's sort of the equivalent of the Oscar for mystery writing, and it's an adjudicated award. They read hundreds of mysteries and pick the 5 best in each of the categories, and I was nominated for Best Paperback Original for 2001 for the second book in the Gaslight series.
And how many books do you have in that series now?
We have 15 books in that series now. 15 came out last month in May of 2013.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is wonderful.
So we're Seton Hill today, as our viewers know, You were originally a mentor with the Seton Hill program, is that correct?
That's right. I started in 2000, almost at the very beginning.
Wow.
And they had recruited me to be a mentor, and I was the mentor for several terms. And then they asked if we had any ideas for modules to teach, and I came up with 1 or 2 ideas. And so then I became an instructor in the program as well. And then in 2010, when we became an MFA program, I decided to go back and get my MFA through the program. So I was also a student and am now an alum.
Now you're an alum, so you've kind of come full circle
I
with,
have,
with the
right?
program here.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your favorite character in one of your books, or maybe in the entire series?
Well, since it's a series, the protagonists are the same throughout the series. And of course, Sarah is the heroine. She's a midwife, and Frank Malloy is a police detective. And I think probably he's my favorite character.
Well, you light up a little bit when you said Frank's name.
Yes,
So
really?
yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, everybody's in love with their heroes.
Yes, that's
the
for
ones
sure.
that they create, because we make them the way we'd like them
Right.
to be. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's Irish Catholic at a time in the 1890s when pretty much the only career an Irish Catholic man could have was in the police department in New York. And he has a handicapped son in the very beginning. Now, the police department at that time was totally corrupt, which I didn't realize when I decided to make him a policeman. And then when I did the research, I realized, oh my gosh, I have a hero that's like, not very heroic. He's a corrupt police officer, so what am I going to do with him? So I had decided I had to give him some motivation for being where he was. And he has a son he believes is mentally retarded and that will have to be taken care of long after he dies. And so he realizes the only way he can do that to ensure his son's future is to make a lot of money and take a lot of bribes and bribe his way up to be a police captain, which I believe was about $10,000 you had to accumulate to pay a bribe to get that job. And that was great because you got then not only the bribes paid directly to you, but a cut of everyone under you.
Sure.
So he would have been a wealthy man when he retired at that. So that was his ambition in life. And then he meets Sarah Brandt and discovers his son is actually deaf instead. And so this happens very early in the series, so I'm not really giving much away.
Not giving away the mystery.
Yeah, not giving away the mystery, no. And so he, out of gratitude, decides to pay her back by solving her husband's murder. Her husband's been murdered, and so that's how they, stayed together through the beginning of the series. And so then he no longer has a reason to necessarily stay at the police department, but he's pretty much stuck there. So that's why he keeps on. But he does a good job and rises above his situation.
Well, sometimes the flawed heroes are the best ones.
They are.
The most interesting.
They're certainly the most fun to read about.
That's right.
So did you have an inspiration for Frank Malloy, or did you pull from multiple directions?
Well, I kind of think of him as a younger, handsomer Andy Sipowicz from NYPD Blue, which was very popular when I started the series. So he's that character, sort of, a little jaded, a little,
Are Frank and Sarah going to get together completely?
Actually, they get together in the book that just came out, Murder in Chelsea. Frank proposes to her at the end of the book. And somebody said, does she accept? I'm like, are you kidding? Am I crazy? I'm not going to say that.
Exactly, I'm a mystery writer.
Somebody said, yes, she wants to concentrate on her career. And I don't think so. But yes, and it's very interesting. I had written 14 books, and they weren't together, and I had created so many obstacles to them getting together that I couldn't figure out how to get them together. And I was complaining about this to my online group, my online class that semester, and one of the other students said, let me rise to your challenge. And he sent me 20 possible solutions.
Gosh, how awesome.
Never having read a word I had written, not knowing anything about the series, and he writes science fiction as David Wilbanks. And so, one of them was the perfect solution. And so you will see David, I named a character after him in the book, the character who actually saves the day and makes all this possible.
That is
awesome. David Wilbanks.
That's wonderful.
So I owe a lot to the program.
Wow.
So they will be getting married eventually. I'm going to drag it out a little bit. The next book, they're just sort of piecing together what their lives are going to be like now that everything's changed.
Wonderful.
And then they'll eventually get married and solve a murder on their honeymoon. And
of course.
Of course.
So I was curious with all of our writers today if you're interested in different forms of storytelling, television, motion pictures, music, or any of those things that you subscribe to, or are you solely a bookworm?
I am solely a book person. I did have one of my books a long time ago optioned, but for the movies, but they didn't ever. It never went anywhere, as they frequently don't. But and I would love to write a screenplay. My daughter is trained as an actress and writes screenplays. She lives in Los Angeles, and she writes screenplays and is always writing and starring in and producing her own little short movies and things like that. And I would love to write a screenplay with her, maybe partner someday. But I know it's a totally different genre and discipline, and the different rules apply. So I just haven't had time to learn those rules yet. But it does.
Well, you'll have a good teacher with her.
That's true. That's true.
So has the mystery genre been your friend all your life? Were you a reader as a child?
I did. Some of the first books I read were Nancy Drew mysteries and Vicki Barr, which I remember I was in elementary school and they had the book fair, and I saw this book, Vicki Barr. She was an airline stewardess, and of course they don't even call them that anymore. But and she had the same name I did, and there aren't many Vickies in the world. So I asked for that book at the book fair, and I got it for Christmas. And there were only 3 books in that series. I Googled it not too long ago, and I had all 3 of them. And it was Vicki's mysteries. She solved mysteries as an airline stewardess. But I did read that a lot as a child. But then as I got older, I liked romances. And actually my first 20 published books were historical romances.
You have written some books.
Wow. A few. So that's 35 total that I've published.
Oh, just only.
I wrote a few more that aren't. Yeah. Those are the only ones that published. Oh, please. I have friends who've written hundreds, so I'm a piker compared to them.
How long does the process take, or does it really vary by book that you're in? If you have 35 under your belt that are published, and I'm sure you've gone through revisions and so forth, I'm just curious, how long does that take someone to write?
Actually, writing, well, when I wrote full-time, before I had to get a day job, it would take me about 9 months to write a 500-page historical romance. Now it takes me about 5 months to write a 300-page mystery, because I work full-time too, in addition to that. So.
Well, if your fans are interested in getting your books or getting in contact with you, following you, do you blog? Do you tweet?
I have a Facebook page,
and
it's linked to my Twitter feed, so they're both on there. And I have a website, victoriathompson.com. It's really easy, and so they can send me fan letters, and I'll correspond with them.
Sure.
And she's a Pittsburgh girl, by the way.
From the Pittsburgh area?
Actually, no. I live over in central Pennsylvania. I'm a Pennsylvania girl. I live near.
I always thought you were Pittsburgh. I did. I don't know.
It's because I'm here all the time.
And it's probably why. Yeah.
She just knows the turnpike real well.
I do, like the back of my hand. Yeah. Yeah. It's. I live near Gettysburg in PA. But my husband actually is from the Pittsburgh area, but not me.
Well, Victoria, thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
And for sharing a little insight to what you're working on. And I enjoyed hearing a little bit about Frank Malloy. I'm going to have to pick up some of the books in the series. Yep. If you'll stay with us, we'll be back in just a moment.
Do you have a buy local card?
Yes, I have one. I do.
Yeah, I have one. I use mine every day.
Where's your buy local card?
Use your buy local card to save money at restaurants, grocery stores, retail shops, tourist attractions, and service providers. Cards can be purchased online at www.buylocalfayette.org or by calling 724-437-7913.
Savor the flavor of Fayette. Buy local.
A few years ago, I was at a dead end, underemployed, with no idea of where my life was headed. Then I enrolled at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology's School of Healthcare Careers and discovered a great career and great life was only months away. Now, I've started the career of my dreams, and the future couldn't be brighter.
The School of Healthcare Careers at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology offers career-focused, hands-on training for these in-demand fields. Call 724-437-4600 or visit piht.edu for information.
In the immortal words of Porky Pig, that's all, folks. And I hope you'd enjoyed being with us here at Seton Hill University over the past couple weeks at the In Your Right Mind conference. We've talked to some of the most influential names in writing, authors, publishers, and those with the know-how. We'd like to thank Seton Hill for inviting us in, and if you'd like to learn more about them or their programs, please visit them at setonhill.edu. For Dave, Ken, Chris, Eric, and myself,